Hello, human. Reflective Self here with a new episode of Living Lessons, where I get to share honest insights from lived experience. Lessons that capture moments of clarity, vulnerability, and human understanding. Today's episode is all about what it means to meet the moment before it disappears. And so here's the lesson that I've learned. A moment of gratitude is a gift meant to be shared, not postponed. I don't recall when I first started this practice. Perhaps it was after a loved one passed. I can't quite remember. Nevertheless, this practice has found me in times of deep reflection, but it has just as often arrived quietly and unexpectedly in the most ordinary moments. Not because I searched for it, but because something within me remembered. The only way to describe the sensation is to imagine a gentle wave of energy emanating from the chest. It doesn't overwhelm. It doesn't rush. Rather, it moves with controlled calm. It releases just enough warmth to bring forth a smile as each breath rises and falls with steadiness. I remember a time when it took me by surprise. It was the early hours of the morning. I had just entered the kitchen to fire up my first brew of the day. In that moment of quiet calm, as I hummed to the rhythms of Lauryn Hill, she came to mind. I did not summon her presence, and yet there she was, at the forefront of mine. So I accepted the invitation. Her presence came with a deep fondness and affection for all that she was, and for choosing to walk this life alongside mine. As my thoughts crafted a love letter, I was still unsure whether they would remain in draft. But I knew it wouldn't take long before my fickle memory or the day's distractions would wipe them clean. And so I decided to send a voice note, letting my dearest friend of many years know that I was thinking of her in that very moment and expressing my gratitude for having her in my life. Gratitude has a way of asking something of us, not in a forceful way, but in a way that only becomes clearer when we slow down, when we take the time to notice what's already present. It could be the people in our lives who show up consistently. It could be the care that exists in small, often overlooked ways, like the barista who already knows how you take your morning coffee. It could be the moments that have felt most transformative and the ones that don't demand attention, but hold meaning nonetheless. It can be easy to move past them quickly, to assume that they'll always be there. But when we pause, even briefly, we can begin to see them differently, more closely, more clearly, almost as if we've taken a magnifying glass to our own lives. And in doing so, what once felt ordinary begins to reveal its depth. Gratitude in its most natural form doesn't always come from deliberate intention. It doesn't always reveal itself through a list or a practice. Sometimes it arrives on its own, unfiltered, unplanned. And maybe that spontaneity is exactly what makes it feel so honest. Because it bypasses the very part of us that often tries to analyze or organize. It meets us directly in feeling, in presence, in those moments where we're not trying to be grateful. We just simply are. And what we feel is not abstract. It's not a concept. It's purely physical. It moves through the body with calm. It is both steady and grounding. It is the body reminding us of something we already know. That there are people in our lives who matter. That there are connections that have shaped us in ways we don't always stop to acknowledge. And yet, even when these moments arrive, they don't always stay. The day continues, our attention shifts, hardships and difficulties can take center stage. And what felt so clear begins to fade. Not because it wasn't real, but because we didn't hold on to it long enough to give it form. There is often a small window, a space between feeling something and moving on from it. And within that space, there's a quiet invitation to allow the moment to pass or to meet it. Not perfectly, not always with the right words, but simply by expressing it. It is in those moments that we might be encouraged to reach out to those present in our minds, to offer that 2-line text, that quick voice note, or that short call, and in the words of Stevie Wonder, say, "I just called to say I love you, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart." There is also something else that lives in these moments, and that is vulnerability. Because to express gratitude is to wear our hearts on our sleeves, to speak with truth and say, "This mattered to me. You mattered to me." There is no certainty in knowing how it will be received. And yet, maybe gratitude was never meant to depend on that certainty, that all that truly matters is that it was sincerely given. It is the willingness to let something internal become external, to allow that thought to become a message, to transform that feeling into a voice, to breathe life into a moment that can now be shared. Because at our very core, there is a desire to be seen, to be appreciated, to be acknowledged, to know that our impact and presence in someone else's life carry meaning. And sometimes, the simple gift of gratitude is enough to remind us of that. When gratitude is expressed, it doesn't end with us. It can move. It can carry. It can reach someone else and become something they not only feel, but embody. In that way, gratitude becomes more than just a moment. It is something that has the ability to continue beyond us. It is the quiet ripple, the healing reminder, the selfless offering. It has a way of illuminating goodness without comparison or measurement. It is just a simple recognition of what is. Still, there is something we might not always like to sit with. That these moments are not guaranteed to return in the same way. That those we think of fondly will not always be accessible as they are now. That time continues, whether we pause or not. And so, there's a kind of gentle nudge that comes with this awareness. Not urgency that pressures, but a reminder that presence matters, that expression matters, regardless of how vulnerable we might feel, that it matters while it is still possible, before memory starts to soften our edges, before the day's distractions carry us elsewhere, before life moves us onto different paths we never anticipated, even before we make our final departure from the living. Gratitude doesn't always need a perfect moment. It doesn't need to be grand or carefully constructed. Sometimes, it simply asks to be acknowledged, to be felt, and when possible, to be shared. In whatever way feels true in that moment. For gratitude is one of the most powerful and generous gifts we can offer. It is a way of preserving what's meaningful, not just for others, but for ourselves. And that is the lived lesson that I've learned. It's not a universal prescription, but it is mine. Keep what stays, release what doesn't. Until next time.